Hello friends, it is the 6th of October 2016, my name's Scott, welcome to Not Scott. I realise this video is available at a terrible and unsociable hour. I had a really busy day and unfortunately I can't prioritise this above everything because it's not a full-time job. So rather than look over what's happening today in the news, I kind of want to talk more about what we talked about yesterday. The word fascism is thrown around a lot in 2016, whether that's to do with the Leave campaign, Donald Trump, UKIP, or this week's Conservative Party conference. I was guilty of this yesterday too, so I implicate myself in this. But we seem more keen to label something fascism or label something we don't agree with than to engage with it and attempt to change the public perception. That is to say that it's all well and good you and I sitting here saying we know that immigration is not a bad thing, but if we're only doing it to each other, then it becomes a sort of masturbatory self-back-patting exercise, when actually that message needs to be out there in the world. It's a shame that Labour's tweet attacked the Conservative Party and their policy on their failure to lower net immigration. Because A, Labour could have framed that as a good thing and said the more the merrier, and B, it really exposes a political game, which is to say that your political opponent's failures are important above all else, even when those failures are actually good for your ideology. To the credit of the SNP, the Greens and Plaid Cymru, they did release a joint statement saying that they condemn much of what has been said over the last week. And again, Nicola Sturgeon has been distancing herself from much of the rhetoric going around just now in the media, stating in a Facebook post yesterday that it is a vision the Scottish Government wants no part of, going on to say that Scotland and her idea of Scotland is a tolerant, inclusive and just society. This is in keeping with the speech she gave the morning after the Brexit vote, where she re-emphasised that people from the EU are a valued part of society here. The SNP have been pretty consistent on this, so they're kind of in the best place to be the ones who lead the opposition to these policies. Labour, on the other hand, seem more reactive than proactive. They point out that Tory policy is bad, but they wait for the policy to happen before reacting to it. I think doing that appeals only to people who vote Labour anyway. It makes them feel better and part of the community saying we do not stand for this, when actually it's Labour's role as the opposition to be out there changing minds and saying we have this other vision, we have this more tolerant and inclusive vision. So I'm going to ask you, where do you even start? Because it's fine for us to retweet our disgust and get angry in private and just share our opinions with other left-wing echo chamber areas that ultimately are shared within our circle. All of that is in some way private, so it won't change what's actually happening. And if we really believe that this is fascism, that this is bad to a developed society, then it shouldn't be hard to point out that doing things another way benefits all of us. And I mean pointing that out to the people who are being led down this path by the Tories. Because telling people they're racist or they're Nazis has never made anyone stop and go, oh, wait, maybe you're right. I am going to change my ways. Thank you for the insult. You have changed everything. Also, calling someone a Nazi or a racist is only harmful if you consider those words harmful. To someone who is overtly racist, it's not like they're unaware of it. The word itself has no semantic meaning unless you attach a reasoning to it. To some, racism, in the sense that we're talking about it right now, is just as bad as every other form of racism. To others, they take a sort of, well, if this is racism, then so be it approach when talking about things such as high numbers of immigration and how they think that affects the job prospects. And I don't believe this comes down to an issue of left-wing and right-wing politics, but I do think people have been sold the lie by the right-wing government that British is best and anything else is a cheap knockoff. Rather than us waiting for this to happen and for these kind of ideas to be out there, we should be saying anyway, constantly, that a diverse society makes the whole world better. And that involves a lot of spinning plates by politicians, activists, voters. If you stop for a moment reminding people why immigration is good, for example, then the plate starts to wobble. And in the last week, that plate has fallen. Because if you listen to the news, it's no wonder that people are worried about a certain type of person. We are bombarded with it daily, whether it's the refugee crisis, whether it's imminent terrorist threats, whether it's how there are no jobs out there. All of these things encourage you to blame and be fearful of a certain group of people. So I'm gonna throw this one over to you. Why? What benefit comes from us blaming people who come from elsewhere? But more importantly, why isn't there something out there saying constantly that our diverse society should be championed rather than blamed for all of our problems? It feels like in among the press, focusing for the last year on the failures of the Labour leadership and then another Labour leadership campaign, that they've taken the camera off what has been happening in the background, and now that it has come to fruition, we've all sort of turned round and been surprised by what we're now seeing. It also highlights what happens when you have no effective opposition to challenge these policies. Rather than waste our time talking about Labour for the last year, it would have been really good if we had put all of our effort into making sure this doesn't happen. And while I'm no fan of any political party, I do respect Nicola Sturgeon's steadfast view that Scotland is an inclusive country. And it's my hope that she keeps saying that and that more people would join her in saying that. And indeed respect to Kezia Dugdale, who completely distanced herself from the Labour tweet. So it's one thing for us, the people, and us, the press, to say that things have gone too far. But maybe we should focus more on letting political opponents just do their thing, and we actually just go do ours. And I have to believe that at the end of all that, that love will win. There is a place here for all of us, and we are smart enough to work it out, but also dangerous enough to make things worse. I choose love, every time. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you're doing to promote inclusivity, tolerance, and respect. Thank you so much for watching. Yous are all fab. Have a good one, friends.